Donald Trump in 2016 pretty much putting the boot on certain people's throats, going after Rand Paul, destroying Mitt Romney, and then, of course, people like Christie fighting with. And then when it came to decision time, and when it came to President-elect Trump, we start seeing those dinners, the pictures of the dinners pop up with Mitt Romney and Donald Trump sitting down in opulent restaurants, Mitt Romney looking like a beaten little schoolboy. So I don't know if some of it is just about competition and loving to just rub people's noses in things and then bringing them back up and saying, here, come kiss the ring, or whatever the hell it is. But taking an FBI appointment seriously from anybody is a very big showing of trust. And I would have actually pulled Christopher Wray's nomination or anything once the votes start. I would have fired him the second that I saw that 93 people voted for him to confirm him, because out of a Senate in the way that it was set up back there in his first term, the way that the Senate was configured, for him to get 93 votes, I knew it was a terrible day for this country. And here we are all these years later. He still has a job. He's one of the only people remaining from the Trump administration, if you want to call it that. And it was a bad suggestion, but a suggestion taken. So I don't know. There's been so many theories about who's playing kabuki theater over what. A lot of people thought that the kind of butting of heads between Trump and Jeff Sessions was all kabuki theater, but in reality, and behind the scenes, it was not. It was a very tumultuous relationship right up until the point that he was let go. So I guess the jury's out, and I'm just playing observer on this one.
Yeah, nothing wrong with it. I guess some of the stuff you brought up with, he was like bashing Rand Paul, I think it was funny, but Rand Paul's probably one of the better senators. You said that he was like crushing Romney on the campaign. This is exactly what as a voter, I'm like, why should I believe that this isn't WWE?
Going after Rand Paul, destroying Mitt Romney.
When you're bashing Romney in 2016, but then he not only ate dinner with him in 2018, he endorsed him. You could look that up. Trump endorsed Mitt Romney. I never for a day in my life thought Mitt Romney was a good person. Not when I was 12, not now. So, he bashes Mitt Romney, endorses Mitt Romney. He bashes Chris Christie. He hires his FBI director from Chris Christie.
So you know who recommended him to me? Chris Christie. Okay, he recommended him. And that's okay. I don't mind that. I've taken Chris Christie's recommendations before.
Like you were saying with all the votes for it, he admits in that Hannity interview from this year that basically the Democrats and Chris Christie really liked Christopher Wray. So Trump thought that was like a good thing because like Chris Christie and Democrats liked him. Like, this is the thought process.
I put Chris Wray in because I wanted to have somebody in there that everybody, including the other side, really wanted. Christopher Wray. And people from the other side wanted Christopher Wray.
But now Jim Jordan is investigating.
Of Donald Trump. So that's where I'm like, you calling him like fat and a little boy is comedically hilarious, in my opinion. Maybe it's not the most mature thing, but maybe I'm not the most mature guy. What can I say? But it's like, who cares if you bash them in 2016 and then employ them, work for them, endorse them, and let them basically run your cabinet? Like, why should I believe anything Trump says? Another thing is, too, he put out a video that kind of sounds like RFK now, talking about going after Big Pharma. It's like, it sounds good, but you definitely didn't do that when you were in office. You hired a pharmacy lobbyist executive, Alex Azar, to run HHS, and Scott Gottlieb to run FDA. Like, Trump did not pick outsiders. He picked the biggest pharma shills. So I just don't believe anything the guy says anymore. It's like, I think he's like a circus clown who just like puts on like a show for conservatives. Like, I'm fighting Chris Christie, but I just hire people because he tells me to. It's like, I don't know. I'm kind of over it.
Well, I think there's people that I think you find quite a few people who feel that way as well. I'm not there totally. I just feel like at this point, I'm so disillusioned with our former republic in general. Presidential elections, if I look at them, and I usually just look at them through traditional American scope, they should be some of the most meaningless elections that we have in our country. But of course, the presidency has gone imperial back in the turn of the 18th into the 19th century, and we're just sitting here and talking about a mutant zombie body that has been imbued with way too much authority that it was never intended to have. So when I look at this, where we are right now, I'm always talking about all right, if we're going to crash into the sea, I want to create a little bit of wind resistance on the way down. And that's why I really would love to see a lot more people doing some fantastic things, running as sheriff, running as governor, running just for state assemblies and things like that. With Donald Trump, the one thing that I'm going for with this is I would love, in 2016 I voted for him for a couple of reasons. I knew he was going to wage war with the media and cause a lot of discontent there, and he has been the major reason for the media's integrity, whatever was left of it, being totally gutted. I loved that whole that thing that really he created a lightning rod scenario that I think did a lot of good in that respect. I also wanted somebody that's just to be a monkey wrench in the gears. And in many respects, that happened as well. Some good things happened, some not so good things happened. But again, I'm not looking for any kind of lasting rehabilitation of Washington, D.C. That's never going to happen. It's dead. I mean, I'm looking for somebody to inspire some thought, some people to go out and do things where they live. And I think that the 4 years of Donald Trump, where we were at least able to have some superficial moments of patriotism again, saying things that we weren't supposed to say, that we were being told was not good anymore, that we weren't exceptional, that we couldn't be exceptional again. Those are things that go a long way for people in their hearts and their minds. And if that plays out in real tangible ways in localities, that's amazing. So I was looking for that. And of course, if we can get a couple of good judicial picks, that was what I was looking for. Now this time, if he's the nominee, if I'm going to vote at all, I'll vote for him. If not, if he's not the nominee, I'm not voting at all probably ever again for president, because like I said before, statistically, I really do not believe that the only way he does not have that nomination is if he was lawfared off the campaign trail. And if they are able to go that far as to deny him a nomination, regardless of whether or not he's running a good campaign, has good ideas or bad, if statistically, as you said before, you don't want to vote for him, but if he was disallowed from winning that nomination fairly, then that would not be something you'd be for. That would be the final piece of evidence to me that there is really nothing left to even go out there and engage in the system, at least on that level anymore.
Yeah, fair. Yeah, real quick before I say something, I would say if that happens, I understand your point. If this is a hypothetical scenario, only time will tell. If, he ends up just kind of pushing people away, DeSantis runs a good campaign and gets more votes than Trump without him getting kicked out, would you still not vote for him over Biden, or where are you with that?
Well, wait,
okay. Say Trump doesn't get taken off the ballot. Like if he gets taken off and you're like, I don't care anymore, they just cheated him out. Yeah. But what if they both run fair and square and just DeSantis gains more support? Would you vote for him versus Biden?
Versus Biden. I don't, when I see the kind of people, when I see that after the midterms, the first thing after the midterms that they all did was say that after all that misallocated resources into weak candidates, some of them, very few of them were endorsed by Donald Trump, but after a mediocre midterm that should have been so much bigger, to see all of the Paul Ryan types, the Mitch McConnell types stand up and already have this thing laid out. We didn't perform very well because of Donald Trump, and he's never going to be the nominee for the party. And then suddenly we start seeing all the money that they control, the people that they work with. They're starting to circle around DeSantis, and it seems to me that this has always been a plan, a transitional plan in some way. So to see that, you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. I would rather go with somebody who makes these people upset, even in a small way, than go with somebody that they have enthusiasm and some kind of a enhanced admiration for in DeSantis. And again, I think I would just be out because.
So you wouldn't vote for DeSantis over Biden?
I don't think I would vote. Period. I think it'd just be over.
So this is why, I feel like Trump is a character that's destroying things now. It's like you won't even vote for DeSantis over Biden, but you're talking about the midterms. Trump picked a liberal Dr. Oz who ran a terrible campaign, who's not even conservative. He hired pharmacy lobbyists. He let Chris Christie handpick his FBI director. 95% of his cabinet was swamp. He endorsed Mitch McConnell and Mitt Romney. in your head, Trump is like this guy who's not totally different. But even when I could prove he does 100 of the same things that you won't vote for DeSantis for, like you give him a pass. Like Trump kind of, in my opinion, has people like under a spell where it's like, I'm not even going to vote for the candidate if it's not him. But it's like, on what planet is he this like miraculous, great hiring outsider who doesn't do the same stuff? He does 99% of the same stuff DeSantis does. Like on what, like in what world is he so special? I don't get it.
It honestly, I think it's a little bit more base for me. I'm not looking at him as a miraculous guy. I've actually taken a lot of shit criticizing his policies and his ideas. I mean, for example, town hall, listening to his town hall. I was up on all those great highlights of him getting those zingers in and whatnot. But when you start talking about everything, I don't know, even his States of the Union addresses, 99% of everything he says should be done is just something that is not in the purview of the presidency or even the Congress at large. It's more so a fact that I just see, I guess I have less faith in the whole thing than I did in 2016, where I thought that we caught lightning in a bottle. And I do try to give him some kind of benefit of the doubt for the fact that it wasn't just Chris Christie whispering in his ear. It was a whole bunch of people. And how much control did he ever really have? I think that
why wouldn't you vote? You'd vote for Trump versus Biden, but you'd sit out if it was DeSantis versus Biden.
I think this because I think DeSantis, I was actually rooting for this guy for a very long time. And the fact that he's willing to abandon Florida, which is literally the only thing that matters at this point. My problem, my situation is I'm focused on people who can do things on a state level. And if Donald Trump has 4 years to throw, stink bombs around DC and just cause problems, let him do that. DeSantis should be the shining example of what really needs to be happening in this country to divorce ourselves from the irreparable situation in DC. And I thought I think that's kind of low for him to be willing to jump out of office 2 years early as it pertains to the constitutional limits in Florida. I just think, I don't know, to go out there when you can have a clear shot to do whatever you want in 2028. I feel like that's kind of scummy. And
I mean, if like, for instance, DeSantis hired a Surgeon General, Joseph Ladapo, who was like a front doctor who was on the steps of Washington protesting lockdowns. That's who DeSantis put as Surgeon General. He's fighting Big Pharma. Trump picked Jerome Adams, who thinks COVID has the tip of the iceberg, which was a Pence guy. He picked Alex Azar, a pharmacy executive, Scott Gottlieb's. Trump's entire cabinet was laced with pharmacy lobbyists. Why should DeSantis get on his knees and be like, yeah, this is the guy? Like, why shouldn't Trump be challenged when he did such a terrible job and he shows no signs of self-accountability? Like, just because he talks about the media and he hires 99% terrible people and he shows no signs of changing, like, why is it not okay for someone who hires better and is more pragmatic to be like, I think I could probably do a better job than this guy? Because Trump is like, he talks a lot, but when it comes to hiring, he doesn't have either good instinct or he just doesn't really care. Like, his thought process on the FBI director was Chris Christie told me to, and the Democrats liked him. Like, that's not how you think. That's not how his base thinks. That's not how his voters think. But Trump has created this religion around him where people are like, I'm not voting if it's not him. I see all these things, but like, that's okay. But when DeSantis does it, that's like too much. He should just stay there and not compete. There should be no primary. Like, on what planet should Trump go unchallenged in 2024? He printed more money than ever printed in 2020. He gave $18 billion in a socialist scam to Big Pharma. He runs around the country overselling it as a great human achievement. He refuses to turn on it like everyone else has. Like, on what planet is it like, yeah, let's just give the keys to the castle to this guy with no competition? I don't see it.
Well, the other thing that I would say is, if you were not okay with the fact that with the situation where he would be forced off the campaign trail in some kind of an unnatural way outside of being beaten in fair competition, I think a lot of people, and this is one of those statistical things for me, I don't believe he lost in 2020. I think it's kind of messed up that he didn't have a second term to do whatever, whether it be to take the gloves off, or just be more of the mixed bag of stuff from the first term. But
does he have any accountability? Like, is he just a giant victim, or the fact that he played into the lockdowns for a month? He funded all the Democrat states. He gave thumbs up to Newsom and Murphy. He allowed all this to happen. He gave them funding until November so they could do mass mail-in ballots. Like, does Trump ever bear any accountability for anything he ever does? Or in your head, is he like a professional victim where 2020 is just not his fault? He just screwed up from March till November, gave the Democrats everything they wanted, gave Big Pharma everything they wanted. Then they got you, and now it's just not him. It's like Epstein disappears on his watch, but it's everyone else. You know, like why does nobody say, like a quarterback who throws a few interceptions, yeah, you lost the game. Yeah, there could have been a better decision. But also there's 20 times that you could have prevented and made this election more fair if you would have gone the way of freedom and liberty instead of communism and big pharma money printing. You know, like, I don't see Trump as a victim of 2020. I think he dug his own grave and now has brainwashed people into crying as if he's not in on it. He's friends with Fauci. He's friends with Romney. He's friends with Chris Christie. But it's this big, like, Tom and Jerry show where it's like, I'm the victim, guys. They're persecuting me. And if I don't win, you know, we're Magadonians. Follow me on truth. Listen to me. Think about what I think. And people are like, I only can vote for Trump, even though he doesn't ever do anything. You know, like, what, how, I don't get it. Like, you'll literally sit out. You're willing to let Biden beat DeSantis and just be like, I don't care.
Well, if everything that you're saying is 100% true, and there's no other way of looking at Donald Trump's ability to do anything outside of what he was able to do in the first term, then there's doesn't matter anyway. Whether it's Biden, whether it's Trump, whether it's DeSantis, my thing here is, again, I'm only focused on what could possibly be done on state and local levels to be able to divest from this, I don't know, this unbreakable bond now that we have, this methadone drip, this addiction we have to Washington, D.C. That is the only way that there is a future in even certain regions of this country, is if D.C. is distanced, that we have some distance from there. In that respect, I actually say, hey, well, if DeSantis is the better pick than Donald Trump, then DeSantis should be, and anybody else like that should be considering how they can go and make their states independent of the system, and let Trump make a clown show of the whole damn thing. That's my whole point. I think that what you're mistaking about me is that I have more emotion invested in this than I do, and that's just not the case. I'm looking at this from a restorative standpoint. Some people call it a great divorce, a national divorce, but really I'm always thinking about, before we really hit the wall and we all go to shit, how do we find a way to restore any semblance of what was a little bit more of a decentralized American republic? And I don't think that we're going to get that from anybody on that level of the government in DC. So then
why would you vote for Trump if he ran against Biden, but you'd sit out DeSantis? If federal doesn't matter, why even vote for Trump then?
Because like you said, it could be a good time. That's what.
Why not vote for DeSantis then if he runs against Biden? That's not a good time.
Again, what we said in the beginning. What did we say in the beginning? If there was a way, if there's something that had gone on here where Ron DeSantis had closed a 45-point gap, and there is an overtaking, there's something, I don't know. Who knows what happens over the next year?